Hi there, this is Michelle Rayburn. Today I'm bringing you a voiceover from one of my recent Substack posts. Every January, the church flyers reappear. Faith-based wellness, biblical fitness. And every time I feel the echo of an old wound that I'm still healing from. Today I wrote about that and I want to share that topic with you here on the Midlife Repurposed podcast. Welcome to Midlife Repurposed. If you're craving inspiration, practical tips, and a renewed sense of purpose, you're in the right place. Here, we embrace the messy, uncertain, and sometimes downright challenging turns of midlife with a dose of humor and an unwavering belief that there's treasure to be found even in the tough stuff. I'm your host, Michelle Rayburn, an author who's passionate about uncovering hope in the most unexpected places. Let's repurpose this season of life together. If you caught my update recently, you know that occasionally I'm using some of the Substack content that I wrote to do a voiceover read for you here. So if you like to read topics, go ahead over to the Substack blog and look for Midlife Repurposed. But if you're a busy person and you like to listen, then look for these opportunities to hear some of the things that I've been writing and producing. Today, I bring you When Faith and Diet Culture Collide. Fall is the season when churches begin promoting fitness or wellness programs for the new year. Teasers now, signups, and devotionals to come. For some, these gatherings are encouraging and life-giving. For others like me, they stir a complicated mix of memories. My body still remembers what it was like to turn faith into a diet plan, and how easily spiritual language was woven into messages of control, shame, and striving. One of my biggest hurdles in midlife has been dealing with the fallout of nearly 4 decades of dieting. I was around 12 when I first started restricting calories. Ironically, that's when I started menstruating. My body got curves and I became hyper aware that my shape as one of the early bloomers in my class didn't match the others. This is just a bit of my history, and I've shared it in other posts on my Substack as well. I joined Weight Watchers as a college student, prepping for my wedding, having purchased my dress a wee bit small off the rack and treating it as a, quote, incentive. I did a you eat our food diet as a newlywed after college studies and late night snacks caught up with me. I lost enough pounds to have my skin flake and my hair start falling out, but I got my photo in the newspaper in an ad for the diet center. "Michelle is losing it" was the caption. I went back to the packaged meal program after having baby number 1, despite having no real budget for a program. Weigh-ins, like usual, included shaming if the numbers didn't budge. Eventually, I went back to Weight Watchers, and then the internet was born, and the online version saved me from the scale shaming. I switched to checking out all sorts of diet books at the library and purchasing everything published by The Biggest Loser. By the way, watching the Netflix documentary recently made me wonder how I got caught up in that. I switched directions and tried a faith-based program at church that taught me how to eat like a thin person. Actually, it was more like a distracted toddler, but with Bible verses and language of idolatry and slavery woven in. Way down workshop, anyone? I discovered my fitness pal and created challenges with friends, tracked macros and calories like a, quote, good perfectionist. I tried other faith-based programs, friend accountability, more books, more My Fitness Pal tracking, more. By the time I turned 50, I was fed up, pun intended. My body was having its last hurrah that ended with a uterine biopsy and a D&C to remove a fibroid, and that was it. Postmenopause achieved. The crime scene style periods ended, at last. But there I was, holding the wreckage of a warped body image and a lot of diet culture baggage. And the same body I've always had. Away, W-E-I-G-H, forward. I talked about some of my journey in previous posts and podcast episodes. I linked to those in the show notes. Actually, I linked to those in the article on Substack. Bottom line, I had an awakening that made me realize I didn't want to spend the rest of my life tied to tracking calories and assigning food into good and bad categories. I also had a realization that for me, the process had become a form of idolatry. I was too fixated on tracking and analyzing and giving myself gold stars for being, quote, obedient. I discovered intuitive eating, which helped me neutralize my views on food and body. I threw away the scale, never tracked another calorie since. And should I be surprised that I actually crave some things less than I ever did before? Or that I'm satisfied with a small bowl of ice cream compared with the weird mock versions of desserts I had tried for so many years? Spiritualizing diet and fitness. When I see those faith-based fitness flyers appear, my stomach knots. It's not because I'm anti-health or anti-faith. It's because I carry the scars of diet culture dressed up in spiritual language. My body remembers what it felt like to equate holiness with hunger. I know I'm not the only one who feels that tension. For some of us, diet programs and devotionals were intertwined. We memorized scripture while counting calories. We heard sermons that made our weight a moral issue, and we carried the quiet shame because maybe our, quote, failure to lose weight was also a failure to please God. That's why, mixed in with all the methods and diets above, there's a particular ache tied to the faith-based ones. I've heard more sermons than I care to on what people think gluttony means and the misuse of 1 Corinthians 6 verses 19 through 20 as a dieting verse. Those messages still echo. Holiness equals thinness. Your body size is an indication of your spiritual health. Hotness is holy. You honor God with your body by depriving it of calories. Obsession with exercise is stewardship. Get moving. Shaming is acceptable if you're out of line. A larger body means an unhealthy body. Rest is slothful. Being sedentary is abusing the temple. Chocolate is sinful. These are the wrong lessons I learned, and they're still embedded in the spiritual culture around food and fitness today. When holiness is measured by body size, faith becomes performance. When spiritual language is used to control or shame, it crosses into spiritual abuse. But there's another way. Healing for me began with realizing that I'd confused obedience with obsession. My worth wasn't hanging in the balance because of a number on a scale or a plate of good food. I had made restriction into a religion. I had given diet culture the reverence that belonged to God. I learned to listen to my body, to eat without moral labels, to rest without guilt. I threw away the scale, like I said. I stopped tracking calories. I learned that my body already knew how to tell me when it was hungry or satisfied. And slowly, I began to believe that my body is not my enemy. Now, when I feel that familiar sting when another church flyer promises spiritual victory through a new diet or, quote, biblical fitness challenge, I remind myself my body is not a project to manage. It's a living expression of grace. If you've been hurt by messages that equate faithfulness with thinness, I want you to know this. Your body has never been a problem. You are already loved without needing to earn it. True stewardship isn't control. God gave you your body as a gift to treat it with care and gratitude and gentleness. I want to thank you for listening today. If this has resonated with you, you'll see that I have other topics on the diet culture and the journey that I've been through included in the Midlife Repurposed content. So hop over to Substack and find that. I also share lots of links to other voices in that space and some of the interviews that I've done on other podcasts about that as well. So I hope you hop over there. The show notes for this will contain a link to the blog post that this content came from on Substack. Thanks for tuning in to Midlife Repurposed. Looking for more inspiration and connection? Dive into Midlife Repurposed on Substack, where you'll find resources, weekly reflections, and a community of like-minded women. Visit midliferepurposed.com to join the conversation and keep the journey going.